All right, so I got a problem. I made a comment online, things got pretty vicious. This is my official response, and the reason is really simple. The guy's in a boat that's sinking. Okay, this is Lady K Sailing Channel. The video's up. You can go look it up. It's called We're Sinking, I think. The fact is, this is a 1/12 scale boat of a flat bottom skiff that I plan to actually build. Now, I don't want to give too good a look of it, but it actually is a pretty sick design and it works well. I've tested it thoroughly on my YouTube channel. I've accounted for the weight of the wood I'm going to use in the interior and all that stuff. I've done the math on this, planned it all out, done it mathematically. And what I will tell you is that if I put a hole right here in the floor, the exit has to be below that point. Has to be. Or gravity can't push the water out. Now, there's no bilge in between. There's a separate bilge that bilges water out of the boat. Okay, fair enough. And it picks up through that hole. Okay, fair enough. But that hole is still connected to that exit hole. And if you have that hole below the water line, which it probably was with 2.5 feet of water in the boat, it's going to be sitting a good deal deeper than it should have been. If that hole is then below the water line, you're screwed. He's got a fairly deep cabin on that boat. I don't know exactly where his water line is, but that through hole can only help as long as it's above the bloody water. And as soon as it goes below the water, if there's no bilge, it's not doing anything except taking in water maybe. If it's got an angle up to go, it won't do that, and you won't be taking in water hard. But at the same time, if you start moving forward, if you'd have dumped the forward anchor, letting the bow be lighter to come up, sloshing the water back, that's good, believe it or not, and full forward, full on the sails, full motor, that water hole underneath the water line, if it was, would be sucking out water like crazy and would help him in that situation instead of sitting there with it, everything at an all stop. He needed to put it at an all stop to assess where the hole was in the first place, because if the hole is in the front, it screws you. You're pushing forward, it's sucking in water like crazy because you're pushing that water in with all your forward motion. But after that point, where it's no longer pushing water out of the way, but is instead narrowing at the stern, the water sucks along that edge, and any through hole will be along that edge, and that's why, because it creates suction. If it goes under the water line, it'll still create some suction, and you can still use the hole to some degree. It's part of the design. That's how they work. All I'm trying to say is that if the bilge is broken, water could still flow through that, even if it's below the water line with enough forward momentum. You can get enough water pushing past it to create suction, and that sucks water out of the boat. That, combined with your hand bilging, will empty the boat. She could still keep pumping water from the cockpit into the stern, and it would work because the hole would be useful. So you unclog it at your end, and you make sail. And that way, for sure, in your case, if you're in the middle of the ocean, you can't do that, but you weren't that far. You said you'd only been gone 5 kilometers, which for me brings a few points, or 5 knots of distance. I can't remember which, from the port. Well, fair enough. That means you're not that far away, and you could conceivably do that. And you'd be safer than letting it just sink necessarily, because you'd be bilging out the water. If your goal is really to save the boat, use every asset you have, and something that is a hole that is designed to bilge out the water, being there means you can use it, but you just got to create suction on the other end. And that isn't done by speed, and it does work. If not, if you don't think so, take a look at a 14-foot aluminum boat, take a look at the hole in the floor. There's a plug in it. You pull the plug out, you sit in the boat starts to sink. You gun the motor, all the water drains out, you put the plug back in. Do it. I've done it as a kid. It saved me and my brother in the middle of a lake, guy. You think I don't know what I'm talking about because you think you're an expert? Okay, fair enough. But all I'm telling you is that there's more than one way to deal with the situation you did. You were right at the beginning to drop your anchor, see what's going on in shallow water, and find out where it is. But once you diagnosed it, you continued to just bilge. Okay, fair enough. But at that moment, you could have dropped your anchor and made for shore, lessening the weight, sloshing the water back, helping the bow come up, all that stuff, helping the water come over that hole and be pushed out. Because she's going to keep hand bilging it out, and it keeps forward momentum, which tries to keep the bow in check, and the whole thing is better that way because you get suction, and you'll just get more water out faster, is all I was trying to say. Keith out.